Blink. Blink charging. Bum, 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 bum. So this one is actually, you know what, you filled the gap here. You know, you hit the 9 EMA, you held that 10 spot pretty well. I would put Blink on. I think Blink probably has a chance today. Yeah, you can see it's pushing pre-market. 700,000 volume. Definitely, when you get something like that, this one may have some heat. You already got the pre-market volume in it. Hey TJ, what's up? Reef, how you doing? Good. Let's add that to the gapper list. Yeah, that could be hot to trot. Let's see how that thing pulls at the open. Damn. Morning, Gabriel. What's going on? DMAC, what's going on? So IPHI is a hot semiconductor company. This is an IBD company too. Only 43 million share float, $6 billion company. So you're right in a sweet spot where it's still got some juice. That looks pretty good. You got to break out to all-time highs on this. Let me see the weekly on this. Yeah, you can see this thing has been a monster trender for years. 30, man, this thing is hot. Semiconductors is a good space right now. You're getting a lot of earnings beats on these things. You know, besides Intel, which was a dog, everything else has been pretty good. I would add IPHI too. Something like that. Like oftentimes these kind of stocks too, they'll pull back into the 9 and then they'll just start to grind and then rip off later. Banco, macro, pass. Static to surges, late trade after Q sales beat expectations. This is hot. This is the right sector. Solar has been a hot sector all year. All year solar's been hot. Only 35 million share float, $8 billion company on this. Like this one is going to have a chance to get juiced up. I like that one. This one also has a good intraday range. You know, if you see here, that's ATR. The ATR on this thing is the ATR on this is $10 per day. So it's gonna have a chance to get going. Looks pretty good. Yeah, you're already pushing on this one. It looks fantastic. Add that to the list. So I got 8 page. The Mosaic Company. Agriculture is never that fun. Pass. Tech, biotech, healthcare. Those have been the spots in this market. Tech, biotech, healthcare, IPOs, solar. Stick with the themes of the market, and then EV companies, and then an assortment of small cap, chat room, pump kind of stocks. Those have been the heaters of the last, you know, big part of the market run. Uoni, this thing's a pig. Always been a pig. Hey, Mr. Couture, how are you, sir? EMT John. So this Nile's gapping up 6%. This daily chart is hot. You've got a rounding bottom here. This 13 was important. You know, man, I had this thing yesterday. Quite a few of these fuckers. Yeah, I think this one's probably grinding its way back into, you know, the 1550 spot the next few days. You know, whether it does a linear today. NIO, one thing, because it's a little bit thick. You know, it's a $12 billion company, but it does a lot of volume. NIO's always better on like the first kind of pull. So like what you want is like, you see how like you push here and then you pull back into the VWAP? NIO always seems to work better on that first pull. If you chase it up, it doesn't work as well. So just be kind of mindful of the location of it. Add that to the list. And we're going to narrow down the list in a little bit. JMI gapping up again 7%. The 9 EMA on this now is 15. Today's the day. Now, I thought yesterday was... I thought yesterday was the day. You know, we had an okay short on it for a hot second yesterday, and then it just hit support and ran. Counter trend trading is really, really tricky, but you are getting into like some nice air over here now. It's gonna crack. It's a matter of how easy is it gonna be for us, right? How easy is it gonna be for us? I think, you know, this is on my top of the list for shorts. You have to check with your broker, make sure you have them. You check out Workhorse is already starting to push over its pre-market high. Yeah, you can see this thing's already going. 2.5% it's up. I think this thing's going to be a beast today. There's a good shot of it at least. Yeah, you got Workhorse is already starting to push here. Yeah, look at this bad boy. All these EV companies are in play today. Workhorse, Nio, Shill. All of them look pretty good. So I would put Workhorse now top of the list. And then if they start to really push, I think probably the Shill gets picked up. You finally broke over the 9 EMA on it. This one's going to have a chance maybe get to 22, 23. It's a tricky trader, but you can see end of day it got pushed hard. The key on this one is there going to be any liquidity? Is there going to be any volume? Like most of the time it trades like a hoe. But, right, not, every hoe's got its day. Every hoe's got its day. You can already see this thing starting to push. I like that one. I'd put that top of the list because with Nikola going, so one of the reasons that, you know, a lot of these tank was this Nikola was just so bloated that when Nikola started to tank, you know, it really took down all the other ones with it. You could even see yesterday, like Nikola had, hold on here. I mean, yesterday, Nikola actually moved pretty clean. So you got yourself like a nice kind of VWAP sizzle over here. See this kind of move? Like when you get this kind of like basing action, and then you sizzle over the VWAP, and then 9 EMA is like curling up right up under it, you can get some really, really nice plays, and you'll get some good solid range on them. On a stock like Nikola that trades a little bit thin, that's the type of setup you're looking for. Like if it gaps up like this, you cannot chase it the first candle. Let it pull back, let it grind. It'll test your patience for a little bit and then it'll start to go. You'll see that on a lot of thinner names where there's a spread like all the time. That's how you want to always kind of react with those type of plays. Like don't chase them up on the first candle. And when there's a spread on them, like don't chase them up like at breakouts. Like I made that mistake yesterday with NVAX, which is a good looking chart for today. But like what happens is like because of the spread, like when you buy NVAX, like, you know, I was hitting the breakout on this. When you buy NVAX on breakout, you know, you're buying it on the ask, but then the bid will drop like $1. And so you'll be down like $500 like immediately. And so then it starts to like, even when it starts to push, you're really not up that much. And then like it starts to dip and the bids drop off, even though the last price hasn't. And it kind of shakes you out of them. Like when you look back on the chart, it really trended all day. But like, you know, in the chat room yesterday, like we had a couple good rips on it for like 2 points each. But like in the end, 2 points each is not really enough when it moves 15, 16. I think part of that is like you want to be really kind of hitting those things on the dip. If you try to hit them at the breakout, they just don't work as well. Yeah, so just be mindful of the location. Now today, like you can see, this thing is already starting to curl up. If it takes out the 160, it's going to re-trigger and put it in play for today. I like the overall look of it. Like this is, also top of the list. Let's talk about some of the down gappers on earnings. So Space is gapping down, but it's doing it into support. I don't know if this has got a play for us. IMUX turd. So this has not got enough liquidity on it, so I'd probably leave that one alone. Yeah, Kodak is a turd now. Like, you guys see this thing? Every pop on this will get faded. So, like, even if this thing starts to pop or you start to see it build, there's so many bag holders in something like this, like so many sellers now. If this thing even gets like 18, 19, you're not going to really, you may get excited about it, thinking like today's the day it re-rants, but it doesn't really have any heat on it, so you got to leave those alone. Now, RL is kind of interesting here. So looks like they bombed out on their earnings. You've got already like a $6 range on it. If you look here on the daily, like you've got yourself a nice, if you look here on the daily, you got yourself a nice breakdown here, kind of that 65 spot. It's already down 5%. Usually though, when you get a breakdown chart like this, like if you start to cook and ORB around there, like you can get a play on this. There's two things to be wary of on RL. Like we've traded this on earnings a bajillion times. It's got a monster cock spread on it that like at the open, because there's a lack of liquidity, you could have 50 cents to $1 spread on it, and it just doesn't act right. So you're gonna have to wait for that spread to tighten up. Once it starts to tighten up, it'll be pretty good. So you're gonna have to leave that one alone unless you see that spread tighten, because you don't want to mess around with the stock with like a $2 spread at the open. What ends up happening is you blow 500 shares in or 1,000 shares in it, and you got a $2 spread. You're already down 2 G's right off the bat. Unless you're able to get a good fill and you can come in hot like somewhere closer to the bid than the ask, it will have good range. In general, when it's had earnings plays, like if you look back on this thing, when it really wants to move, like it'll have $5, $10 range. And like even on these gap days, like see over here in this gap days, like you've had days where it's moved 10 points, on all these different gap days. When you see like an earnings play, go back to like the previous earnings or like previous gap days. If you see like some big ranges on them, then you know that there's a possibility for you to play it right, because you need that range to be able to kind of massage in and out on this thing. I'd add that to the list with the big hairy butt of only if the spread is tight. Lynn, Junk, ACHV. What are you guys all watching? So Codex, it hit its kind of a double top yesterday. So this is going to make today more tricky. Like it's opening up below that kind of breakout spot. It was a heater yesterday. It had some news out on some COVID test cases. You're down about 5%. If this thing starts to hold, you see it start to grind, on some support, then, we may be able to scoop this up for a day trade. You want to see a red open on this. Hey, TJ, you know what? I got this cars.com and then True, both of these, on a watch list. If you like cheaper names, both of these are okay. They're more of swing trade type of stocks, though. Yeah, you can see APT's opening week 2. So a lot of these kind of Corona names, like the mask companies, the testing companies, they're opening down like 4 or 5%, which is fine. But what you need to have is like, watch and see how they start to hold at some support. They'll start to get going. So let me look at some of these that you guys are putting out here. SNT, not familiar. All right, so this thing, man, this thing's up 400%. So yeah, $3, ran to 20 already. Sometimes these things will use up their range. This one's going to be a little bit tricky. Most likely, so it's at 6 million share volume. Most likely that's like some kind of chat room pump or something like that. You know, what's happening right now is when the PRs come out on these small caps, you know, some of these chat rooms are packed with like 1,000 people in them. They get pumped quick. You know, people will go on YouTube or, you know, they'll go in their chat room and really start to push these things around. So what you have to do is like let these things kind of just even out. Not really, these aren't my cup of tea, you know, in particular. You know, if it starts to move around okay, like it holds, you know, I'll put it back on the watch, but not really, this is not my flavor. Sun W, oh, so this Sun W used to be Sun Microsystems for a while. This one's okay, like at least it's pretty steady, you know, if you need a cheap one. That one's not bad. Tommy Dutcher in the house. TMC, let me look. Labu's okay. So the problem with Labu is that it's just in a congestion zone. There's nothing worse than a congestion zone. When you get a hot market where everything is trending, and then you're stuck like in between those MAs, you're like not at support, you're not at resistance. What ends up happening is like you're just stuck in this box, and it's really hard to kind of come in and out of those things cleanly. I'd probably take a hard pass on that one for now. You know, it did have a nice move yesterday, but now it's kind of took it back into the zone. I think there's probably cleaner plays out there. CHGG's been a nice one. You know, this one, it's got a spread on it. So I was watching this yesterday and I stayed away. But you did have like a really nice range on this. You know, go from 80 to 88 in a day. That's serious range. Even if you're just trading like a few hundred shares of it back and forth, if it's going to move around $10 both ways, like you can make some money and without having to put too much size into it. You know, if you got, you can see here, like, you know, the ATR on this lately has been about 4. Yesterday it was 8, but it had earnings out. It had earnings out, I guess Monday or Sunday. Wait, what day is it today? Yeah, I had them out yesterday. So yeah, this is definitely, this is, first of all, this is one of the top stocks of the last like 2 years, you know, in terms of just like its range. You can see here from 2017 on, you know, in terms of percentage gain, this is one of the top ones around. This is still an IBD, like top 50 stock, meaning like its earnings growth and all that kind of fun stuff has been of the top. And then this sector, which is education and training services, has been red hot all year. That's a good looking stock. Like, I would definitely keep that on your watch list. So this Healy Abhishek is okay. It lacks a little bit of liquidity, but frankly, it is a nice looking chart. Hey Mike, what's going on? Big Mike in the house. I think with this ATVI, it's overbought, but it's not necessarily extended. You know, there's like a slight difference. So you can be overbought, meaning like it's due to come back because it's just a little bit late in its trend or a little bit late in the cycle. But it doesn't necessarily mean like it's parabolic where, you know, you have to go in with a short. Does that make sense? Tommy Dutcher in the house. BYND. So BYND is a good looking stock, I think. You're remounting your 50 SMA. Their earnings are after hours, though, so it's going to shift around in all manners of places today as people position for the earnings. So I think probably I'd wait till like post earnings. That way you're not getting a little bit caught up in the dicker and deal of this thing. Fucking Blink is not waiting for us. Woo! That's top of the list for today. And since Tommy's in town, we'll have to throw a couple small caps out because now that he's got a serious girlfriend, he's dived into a much more degenerate of a lifestyle to get his fix. Keep it on the list. It's a hot one. Hey, Mr. Shoesmith, I got your t-shirt on. Chuck's Roadhouse, baby. This is a good one. All these are on watch. So Blink, Nikola, all these EV companies are on watch. Workhorse. And then, what was the other one we were playing yesterday? Nio. Nio's got a nice kind of curling pattern too. Put them all on the watch. They may dump off at the open, a couple of these, because they're gapping up like 5-6%. Let them dump off at the open. We'll be able to catch them on the, catch them on the pull. I'll try not to chase these bad boys up. Couple, if the market pulls today, couple shorts. LVGO. This thing's up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days in a row. Now you're starting to hit the 140 spot. Like, good Lord. That one on watch for sure. Etsy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 days in a row. You're at the top of the Bollinger Band. You're running a 97 stochastic. Stochastics only goes up to 100. So you're about as overbought as you can be for that particular name in that particular sector, which is like specialty retail via the web, right? So that's like your Wayfairs, Etsy's, Overstock. This one is right too. If this market pulls even a little, which is probably due to, you're right at that resistance spot. So if you're looking at the QQQs, let me get rid of all these damn lines here. Hold on. If you look at the QQQs, you're right at resistance. Now, a couple of days of sideways consolidation will really build a nice pattern for a breakout. But, we can expect a little bit of, I would say, backing and filling here. It doesn't mean the market's going to tank or anything like that. But in general, if you're getting a little bit extended and you go into resistance, you're going to start to back and fill those areas as you've got gaps to fill, and you've got to let those EMAs tighten up. So we've got ourselves a spot on the QQQs where we may get some weakness in, but frankly, we're also at a breakout spot. So the internal price action is not showing any signs of weakness, but the overall larger picture is showing us that we're a little bit overbought, we're a little bit long in the tooth, and so we may need to come back and fill those areas. So when you think about the market, you got to think of two things. Number one, like, how's that short-term price action treating you? Like, what are you seeing? Are you seeing a deterioration in the tape? And then, like, what is the overall big picture? And it's really when you're, like, marrying those two, that's when you're going to have yourself, like a perfect storm of stuff. So all these EV companies, everything's on watch. LVGO, Etsy, JMIA, all on watch for potential shorts. That's our list. I'm sticking to it. FSLR looks okay. I believe the earnings are in 2 days, so this thing could break out. If you need a solar stock, I'd rather play Run or Sedage. The moves have just been cleaner. Like Run's had a really nice push. Its earnings are on August 10th, so you got a little bit of time. And the Sedage had his earnings out today. If that spread tightens up, we'll get that thing going. I'm not familiar with it, but like, you're not having really any reaction to it. Like, it's down 0.3%, but you're also stuck in a range. I think if you're looking like into the market, there's just hotter stocks out there. You got 8,000 stocks. You got a market that's red hot. You've got stocks that were just on big trends yesterday. So if you got big trends yesterday, you want to be sticking with those kind of trends versus like, okay, I'm going to try to time something that's stuck in a range, 50-50. So that's our list. EV companies. IPHI, Sedage, NIO, RL, these are all earnings plays today. If we need shorts, LVGO, Etsy, and what was the other one? JMIA. And then, we have our normal that we trade every day, which is Roku, and, there's a handful of stocks we just trade every single day, like Roku. Those are on permanent lists. Yeah, I saw SRNE. SRNE trades like crap, but the chart is good. Yeah, it's definitely worth a gander. It's on day 4 of the move, so not my particular cup of tea. FSLY is also like a daily trader for us at this point. We're married to this thing. Nobody's made more trades in FSLY than we have. So that's our list. I'm sticking to it. Anybody got any questions? Yes. Today in class, we have class 8 p.m. tonight. We're going to have the CEO of Trader Sync, and he's going to be going over how to use statistics and trade journaling to kind of boost up your trades. That'll be at 8 p.m. I'll put the link in the Discord room in the BC channel. Make sure you come to that one because he's actually pretty sharp. And there's some cool stuff that they do that you can do with stats and things that'll help your trading. And then we have bootcamp class starts Sunday, and we'll be going over chart setups, how to do your TC 2000. You know, we'll start with the basics and then we'll start layering them on. So BC class, everybody's allowed to retake BC class as many times as you want. Anybody that needs to get in, just, you know, hit me up and I'll make sure to add you guys to it. OSTK is a daily trader for us at this point. It's a little bit long in the tooth. You can only hit it on big dips, but it's a daily trader for us at this moment. That's the list. I'm sticking to it. Shred. All right, man. Let's go have some fun. Let's do what we do, which is the do. RC is fine too.